Hi, this is a spoiler review for the Amazing Digital Circus. I've already produced a non-spoiler review on my channel, and now I'm deciding to do a spoiler review because of the way a lot of different YouTubers have gone out and produced a spoiler review. So, if you haven't seen the TV show already, I'd highly suggest it. It's a very good TV show. Having said that, watching it, I've rewatched the Amazing Digital Circus, the last act now, and first time watching it, I thought it was a decent finale. Second time watching it, I preferred it in the second watching. I still think the structure of the film wasn't amazing. So you had the introduction, which was the fish, that was hilarious. And you go into a Caine summary of like the sort of the essence of the prior episodes from episode 1 through to 7 or 8, really. Which is alright, but it was very jarring when I was in the cinema watching it, because you're essentially watching like a recap, even though most people who are going to watch this are probably familiar with the products or the prior episodes. So it's sort of like a catch up for people, I guess, who haven't really been with the fandom for a while, haven't really caught up with the lore. That's alright. I don't really like that part. But then also having to watch episode 8 into 9, I would have just preferred to watch episode 9. I know that the episode 9 itself I think is only like an hour, but I kind of prefer I'd prefer the shorter runtime, especially on the rewatch. But every episode 9 is interesting because it starts off with the theme song from episode 1, but this time there's no Caine, and it adds in other characters. And during that, Jax is actually seen as, it's like foreshadowing Jax abstracting, because he looks in a bad state, which I didn't get the first time watching. The second time I noticed that. That was quite interesting. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go criticisms on the episode. I love episode 8. Episode 9, I did enjoy both times watching it, but I still think there's flaws in it that could have been rectified. So I'm just gonna kind of go through my gripes. Hopefully it's not just a rant for whatever, like 50 minutes or so, but hopefully it's interesting. I feel like the first third of the movie, where before kind of, I think all the way from the start, well, okay, when I say movie, I mean episode 9. So it's episode 9, I think, past the point where you have the introduction with the intro theme song, which I did like. I like the glitching aspect of it, just repeating on the end, and it goes back into the drama of what was left off in episode 8. I feel that the sort of the emotions starting from then all the way up till the bit where when Pomni is in like the mind palace of Jax, and she's finally given the key to go and access the real Jax and his backstory. I think the emotions are kind of out of balance through that whole like third. So I think there's a lot that goes on during that. And the second time it was more impactful for me. The first time watching it, I was kind of disassociative, because I was watching it like every 5 seconds someone's crying. And I understand it because it's crazy that the existential crisis that's happening. But it does feel rushed. And I did see other criticisms saying that it probably would have benefited if there was more episodes to kind of flesh out basically the existential crisis of there's no Caine anymore. So yeah, I feel like that part where you've got the main cast, and then when Jax abstracts, all that sort of tension, there's like the resolving of certain threads, sort of like Pomni and Ragatha, when after Jax is succumbed. Yeah, I just feel like that the pacing isn't as great with the emotional moments as it has been throughout the whole show. I still enjoyed it, but I feel that was one issue I had. I also feel that the criticism for the abstraction feeling undeserved, you can even argue either way. I think in terms of the Kaufmo one, that was sort of introductory in episode 1 to the concept of abstraction, how it can affect other characters who are in the circus. So the idea of that you can get corrupted by the abstraction, that was really interesting. And when I first watched it, not knowing that Jax was abstracting, it felt dry because it was so quick, it just happened. But I don't know if I dislike that, because the Kaufmo one is also a surprise. But they could have done something interesting. With the lead up to abstraction from Jax, which I will get into later. But I just thought I'll just kind of unpack that point there. And oh yeah, this is also another thing with that first part, is I feel like because there isn't enough screen time, there's not enough time to kind of go into fleshing out that drama, that kind of crisis from all the characters with no Caine. It just seems quite quick, the way that it's just a montage essentially where King Up teaches all of the given cast members how to I'm getting the word now, but it's conjure, so the word, being able to conjure different items into the circus to rebuild it. I felt that was just very quick, because it needed to happen quickly, so more time could be dedicated to Jax and that whole, trying to flesh out that whole thing. But I feel like that was kind of, it was neglected, that part. And I would have been interested in seeing more of it, but I did like the way they presented it. And I feel like this is a very Jack-centric episode, which is good because it allows it to be fully delve into the character and break him down. And at the same time, it would have been interesting to see more from the characters or more from Kaufmo and Ribbit, because they did go into Ribbit and Kaufmo's backstory. But I think that would have been a great opportunity if you did a prequel episode, just focus on Kaufmo, Ribbit, and Jack, because that would have been very interesting and engaging. But I understand why they decided to just do that backstory and then show, because Jack's a very tragic character, in the same way Caine is a tragic character for me. Jack's being basically uncomfortable of himself, and when he opens up he's then abused, and then that affecting him in the circus, the way he's pushed away at all the people that kind of wanted to become friends with him. So, you know, Kaufmo, Ribbit, Rangatha. And I like how his ending happened in the show, in the way they concluded it. So Gooseworks and I guess the writers and things. I like that conclusion of Jack's not being able to have a satisfying ending. I think that was probably the most impactful thing from the episode 9. And I think there is a point to be made that because of the audience demographic, so the ages of the audience, there's like a younger audience that were in some cinemas. Not the one for the first viewing that I had, but I know from other people that have also watched it that there was younger audiences, that it could affect the way, I guess, Gooseworks would have dealt with the ending, so it couldn't have been as dark. Having said all that, I think episode 9, the last act was nice. I enjoyed that movie. It's one of the movies recently that I've enjoyed. I've also enjoyed, actually I didn't enjoy a movie that came out recently, which was Scary Movie 6, I believe. So Amazing Digital Circus was a good movie to watch in cinemas. At the same time, I don't think it's not like a proper movie, it's just the TV show on the big screen, which I did enjoy. And I said in the prior episode, it's because, you know, being able to see more detail, because it's so large on the screen. But I thought I'd dedicate the next part of this review to, I guess, like an alternative ending that I would have enjoyed, and I feel like it would have made more of an impact, because I enjoyed the way Gooseworks finished it, and now the show's ended. I'm kind of a little bit sad, gonna be honest, that the party is sort of not dead, but it's over now. But I did enjoy it at the time. I thought it'd be fun to just kind of go over an alternative, what I thought would have been more effective, or at least more impactful for me. Maybe not everyone else, but just for me. I feel like Caine and Bubble should have just been permanently killed off in episode 8. And the reason why for that is because I think up until episode 8, Caine as a tragic character worked completely well. So the same way Jax, he was distraught over the fact that he may end up, he didn't want to go, but he'd already abstracted and he couldn't be saved, potentially. He couldn't be saved, so then he was just, then, you know, there's the flashbang and then Pomni is pulled out from his abstraction. That was a good ending to his character, because he, throughout the whole show, has been abusive to people who get close to him. And to have him, I feel like his conclusion, his ending had to be that, you know, where it's just, he couldn't, because he had gone so far, he couldn't come back, and now he was permanently, essentially no longer a person in the circus. I mean, that was a great way to conclude that. Now, contrasting that with Caine. Caine, on the other hand, he has done a lot of bad things throughout the show. I kind of got a list of what happened through the show, just kind of give me an idea of what the different characters did. So I just kind of went through all the different points of the different episodes with Caine. There is loads of stuff Caine does good, but I'm just going to kind of focus on, I'm just going to hone on the bad points. So first of all, he kills Gummy because I guess his excuse was that he couldn't separate AI from humans. And now we know that the humans they're not humans, but they have the human minds. That's what's intriguing to Caine. So he kills off Gummy because it might be like threatening his authority in the circus. The next sort of thing he does that I think is quite bad is, I mean, especially with the episode with the Abel episode, where they tried to lead the circus and then they realized it was just all of an adventure. That is so tragic. I mean, even if Caine's being manipulated by another AI, which we'll get into in a second, that is just so cruel to essentially carrot and stick the potential of the exit, even though he knows there is no exit. He does, even if he's too ignorant to understand the way that would affect the other characters, that is still a cruel part of Caine's personality. And not only that, he also deletes Abel, so not only does he kill Gummy, he deletes Abel as well, because he's getting, I guess, too powerful. And there's also potential that Caine altered Scratch's mind, which then led him to be the first abstraction, or at least it's hinted at with Kinga in episode 8, which is like that adventure episode where they find out the exit story was all fake, or partially fake. So that was also something evil, like, kind of building the case towards that Caine was tragic in that maybe he didn't understand how hurtful he was being, or at least in the initial episodes up until episode, actually it wasn't episode 8, that was the Abel episode, episode 7, my bad, but episode 8 where he then switches, that's the tragic element of his character. I feel like it would have been more effective to essentially have him die episode 8, and then the entire episode 9 being sort of dedicated to the existential crisis that there's no longer a god, a Caine, in the digital circus, and they're alone. That would have been very much more impactful. I do see why they brought him back for a redemption, but it would have been amazing if there was just no redemption, sort of like with Jax, where he can't be redeemed and is just succumbs to the void. Kind of continuing on that. Oh yeah, Caine absorbed Abel, so the AI, where it's revealed Caine's backstory in episode 8 at the start. He absorbs Abel, and it's retconned, or at least fleshed out, that Abel is the part of Caine's personality, which is making him evil. Which I don't particularly like that plot point in episode 9, because even though it is a subversion of what we was like the expectations, at least for me personally, that the red AI is what is corrupting Abel, and then making that whole new personality that's part Caine, part Abel, making Caine evil. I don't really like the thing that I do enjoy the fact that Abel has been subverted, but I don't think it would have worked better if Caine was still around versus bringing him back than having a redemption arc, I feel. But there is problems with that as well. But it's just the fact he's killed a lot of different AIs. He's basically taken over Abel, another AI he was jealous of, or saw as a threat to his own power in the program or in the computer space. And also the fact that in episode 8, Caine has a breakdown, and he has like 2 significant breakdowns in the start of the episode with Bubble, and then he just starts torturing the cast by making them go on crazy long adventures, and then by personally torturing them physically, making them feel pain, even if they're not real. I mean, it's real to them in the circus, even if they are as AIs, you know, right, that they're getting tortured by Caine, which is going very much into I Have No Mouth by my scream. I think that's the title. But it is drawing that, it's kind of inheriting that sort of theme of an AI just torturing humans endlessly. I think that was quite effective. But also with Caine, I feel, because I think his voice actor came out saying that the reason why Caine stops torturing at the end of episode 8 is because he realizes what he's doing to the cast, and then he's killed. And I think that would have been a way more effective tragic ending. The fact that Caine realizes what he's done, but he can't apologize for acting it because he's gone, he's been accidentally deleted, either by King's actions or by Caine's own protective programming, which then forces both Bubble and Caine to just be permanently deleted from the program. That would have been effective. And yeah, I think that's kind of going down the Caine rabbit hole, or the Caine description. But he does do good things in the show, but I feel because he's got so much on him that is tragic, maybe ignorant, and he's also personally torturing the character. Even when the second crash happens, where Pomni is trying to protect Kinga to like pacify Caine for a while, and he then personally tortures the character, and he uses exactly what he knows would be most effective. At that point, he's just sort of past the irredeemable mark. He's actively torturing them, but now he's just doing it even more personally. It's just sort of an irredeemable character. And that's one of the problems with episode 9, is the fact that I don't think they had enough time to flesh that out, where everyone in the circus eventually accepts their fate. They re-accept Caine into their group as an equal, even though he's done all this stuff. And that might seem like as a hopeful message, but I don't know, I feel it would have been more effective if Caine was just gone forever. He knew what he had done bad, and he had no way to act on it. Sort of like with Jax, where he's done so much bad in his like literally all of this stuff has basically been terrible actions and been terrible with people, and then he can't redeem himself. I think that's more impactful than having the redemption. Because there is redemptions, I think there are redemptions in the show, in terms of characters, but I feel those 2 characters may work better as tragic characters. Now, going back to my alternative vision for what episode 9 would have been, or at least what I think is more effective, we dissected Caine now, so I'm going to go back to my alternative and finish off. I think, yeah, Caine and Bubble, I feel, should have been permanently deleted episode 8. That would have left more time to... I feel they should have fleshed out more the fact that there's no longer Caine. That would have been great from the characters to basically have to deal with the fact now they're not only in a circus where they can't escape, but also there's no god, there's no Caine. I've been really interested in seeing more of. Also, I would have enjoyed if the theories around Kinga being pushed into the void actually occurred. I would have loved if Jax, before abstracting, he got mad at Kinga. Maybe not straight away, but he got so mad, so angry, that during a argument he pushes Kinga accidentally into the void in like a fit of rage, and then from that he's exiled from the group and he just runs away. And also that'd be interesting if he'd run away to, or in my mind, the Digital Carnival, and kind of allowed that location to be used. Because I thought it would have been amazing if the Digital Carnival location on the map was just a place where they could put some Easter eggs for the Digital Circus merch. That'd been really funny to see that with the Pomnis or whatever. Just like the little different, as just like an Easter egg in the background. That'd be quite fun. We didn't get to see that location, and we didn't get to see that expanded. Actually, no, they might have shown or depicted the Digital Carnival in the ending of episode 9, or the last act at the very end with the end credits, with the the traditional 2D drawings. They might have done that. I didn't catch that in either time watching it, but they did in that ending. They did show that the expansion of the islands, or the main map. They showed the expansion of it, I guess, as a part of them growing after the fact. So I would have enjoyed it if not only Caine and Bubble were dead. Jax pushes Kinger into the void, and then a split occurs in the group where Pomni's now trying to help Jax while the rest of them are trying to survive from, and this is what would have been interesting, the escaped abstracted people from the cellar. Because that would have been cool. I would have loved to have seen that because the world is now just like damaged, that the cellar is insecure, which allows the abstracted peoples to then cause terror in the circus. So not only is Caine and Bubble dead, Jax has now pushed one of the only surviving humans into the void, and now the abstraction is just running loose. So there's now all that fear and all that existential crisis. It would have been amazing to see that build and like crescendo throughout the episode, but that's not what we ended up with. But this is just what I would have liked to have seen. And yeah, it would have been interesting to see that that kind of plot being built where you had Ragatha, Zubul, and Gangle trying to hide away from abstractions and trying to avoid death. And the reason why I wanted Kinger to be pushed into the void is because in episode 9 they use him as a way to allow people to conjure. And if Jax was able to push Kinger into the void before Pomni fully comes to terms with the ability to conjure, that would have been really impactful, because not only is he accidentally pushed Kinger, one of the best characters of the show, in my opinion, if it pushed Kinger into the void, they would have now lost the ability to learn how to conjure, and there's no way of getting him back. And they don't know what happens to Kinger, because Kinger would just be in the void, so he might just abstract. That would have been very intriguing. Yeah, so what do we get to? I guess we can continue. We got I would have loved it if Jax ended up hurting Pomni in the same way where he's later revealed in episode 9 as hurting his mom, because there is that parallel when it's like during the scene where he's by the red light. I believe that's when they show Pomni's like TV static body being pushed by Jax, as he's imagining Jax is imagining pushing his mom, so that same sort of parallel. It would have been interesting if when Pomni tries to console Jax, he is then the one to injure her, and at that point either abstracts then on there, or he just abstracts as a result. Like he's now just he's isolated everyone, even the person who's actually trying to help him after all he's done, and then he abstracts. And that would be interesting to see that point. Pomni go into the Mind Palace and realize the end, or realize what Jax is as a person, like what he did in the circus, and get his backstory. And I would have also enjoyed if, as a result of that, all that happening, having the tragic backstory play out, having Jax then have a panic attack, and then he is then fully abstracting, corrupting, at which point Pomni can't escape because none of the characters are looking for them because they're busy. And I would have loved it if they just ended the entire show in the most darkest point where Jax is now gone, but Pomni's left in that dark void and she's in pain, and that would just leave the implication that either Pomni would just be in eternal pain and suffering, or she would eventually be waiting there until she herself succumbs and abstracts and she's no longer safe. That would have been the most darkest, most brutal ending, sang on sort of parallel lines to the I have no mouth and can't scream, and it wouldn't resolve what happens with Gangle, Zubul, and Ragatha. So that thread would just be left, and you'd be in the implication that they're just constantly going to have to fight for survival. That probably wouldn't have been. That's not what the creator had in mind, because he had this nice ending, and I did enjoy the nice ending. I did like the idea that, you know, the real counterparts are all having good lives. I feel like that should have been changed as well. I don't think everyone should have had a good life outside the Digital Circus, but I understand why they went that direction. But imagine if there was no Caine and Bubble, they were gone for episode 9, King accidentally gets pushed in the way by Jax, Jax runs off, the abstractions are just running loose, Pomni tries to console him, then Jax abstracts after hurting Pomni, or vice versa, and they have the moment of like potential redemption. Jax then panic attacks, he himself then disappears, and then Pomni just left by herself. That would have been so impactful. I think everyone in the theater would have been mad. They would have been raving and been ballistic, and that would have been good. I believe that would have been good. Having the audacity to tell that basically produce a really beautiful show and have the ending be that impactful and dark, that would have stuck with me, and I'm sure a load of other people for a very long time. The current ending we got was a decent. I think it was the best of the worst endings in terms of satisfying. So yes, they aren't real people that can return to the world, but they do have Caine, and they do have each other, and they've got Jax under control and the abstracted under control, even though Jax can't potentially forever corrupted. But they can at least build the one. They named the last clip, the like cutscene or the last 2D images at the end of the film. You see them kind of doing different adventures. I think Zubul and Gangle fall in love. They have like a love heart thing with Gangle's door open and Zubul's door. So that's the implication. They have like Christmas celebration. So it's very nice. It's nice and wholesome, and you know, it's a nice ending. I don't know. I think the dark plot and the dark ending would have been a fantastic alternative. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but as I've seen already online, the current ending is no one's cup of tea. But you know what I want to say? She did a fantastic job. She obviously had a lot of ambition with the show and had a lot of dedication. She did enjoy the show. She loved the show, and she put a lot of effort into it, and I applaud her for that. And this was just an alternative because I thought it'd be fun to theorize and to be like, yo, what would happen if it was my different darker take would have been, how that would have been like. But yeah, I think the property is good. I may review the whole series at some point, but I don't know if that would be as effective as just kind of detailing an alternative to the plot. So thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, or this was appealing to you, then thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day. And if not, same thing. I wish you have a good day. It is currently very late right now, but it's still a nice day. So thank you very much.